even when he went, they got one or two other ones who are just very good. So he proved himself in the Premier League to be quite a good manager. Whether I mean, okay, it does depend on big club, small club, or middle-sized club. Tottenham obviously are a well-known big football team, large football team. Previous records are fantastic, really go back over the years. And maybe there's a difference between managing a relatively small club like Brentford and a big club like Tottenham. But maybe the difference is that it can be corrected over time. Some managers do need a bit of time to get their feet properly under the desk, to have their influence felt on the players. But I guess it's a sign, again, of the Premier League, where it demands, for the most part, instant success. Unlike in the years gone past. I mean, you can think of Alex Ferguson. I think it took him 4 years before he won a trophy. And I believe, things I've read in the past, he was like one game away from being sacked at Manchester United, having been very successful, I think, at Aberdeen before that. So, but he survived. And of course, once they'd won that first trophy, ironically against Crystal Palace in a cup final, then they went from strength to strength, with the class of 92 and Beckham and all those guys, and they became a great force in football, probably the top force in this country for a few years. So he had time. They could have lost their nerve, the board, after 3 or 4 years and got rid of him, and they would never know what might have happened if he'd stayed. So it's not always the best thing for a club to get rid of a manager just because it's his early days for him. But yeah, you'd have to say some of the results haven't been good for Thomas Frank. Is it going to change in the league? I don't know. I don't know who they've got this coming weekend, but the Premier League is tough, as we all know. And if your team's not got the momentum of winning, then you could be in trouble. You say, is he another Nuno, in the sense, I guess, that Tottenham had Nuno and they sacked him. But I don't think you can compare the two. Arguably, Nuno shouldn't have been sacked if he'd been given a bit of time. That said, he's not been doing great at West Ham and is possibly a couple of games away from that fate of being sacked. But then they did win this past weekend. And again, it changes the whole feel, I guess, around a club. When you actually have a positive result at the end of your week's training and everything else, it gives people an impetus, a lift for the coming game. So that can often make a big difference. But no, I wouldn't say Thomas Frank is another Nuno in the sense, they're similar managers. I don't think they are. But I think I said once before on here that I noticed in one of his early games, when he went to sort of thank his players, Thomas Frank, on the pitch at the end of the game, a couple of them ignored him when he sort of went to shake their hand or put his hand up for a high five. And I thought at the time that's not good. He shouldn't tolerate that, because that, it's seen by a lot of people, millions of people, but also other teammates, that you can't have players disrespecting a new manager. So, he said afterwards they had apologised. Well, fine, if he felt that was enough, good luck to him. Where are we with it? He could lose his job if Tottenham get 2 or 3 more defeats in the Premier League. I think he's as good as gone. The same possibly applies to Nuno, because he's had a bit of a saviour last weekend. But if he loses the next 2 or 3, and as we know, all games are tough, really. There's no easy games in the Premier League. He too could be gone, because it's a merry-go-round of managers. They get sacked pretty easily. And of course, you then come to, which we'll probably talk about, my team, Crystal Palace, where all sorts of things sort of hitting the fan as such. Another manager is going, but this time very much of his own accord, but not without a lot of controversy. So yeah, management in Premier League football, you get a bit of a ride, and often it's a bumpy ride.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Now there was a reference to Antonio Conte. We know he was a very good manager across the football teams here in England and across Europe. Now he's saying that there isn't another Antonio Conte in the waiting, which sort of tells us that that
Mm.
there's not a suitable replacement or a replacement worthy of taking on or taking over from him. Um, is that why they haven't sacked him? Do we think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he manage Spurs before Conte?
Yeah,
Did he
yeah,
manage them? He did, didn't
yeah,
he?
Antonio, yeah.
And another club as well, I think.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
yes. I mean, in some ways, it happens that a club will bring back a manager from the past. I never quite understand it if they have previously sacked them.
Mm,
They're going to still be the same person, but it reflects rather more the feelings of the board of the owners about the current manager, and I guess that the current estimation of Frank's ability is not high amongst them. But
yeah.
I think clubs owners they need to be a little bit less reactive so quickly. Okay, a club loses a few games. Most teams won't be relegated. I think it's the teams that come up who are in the greatest danger generally of that.
Mm,
So, but yeah, I suppose owners and fans demand higher position places at the end of the season. They want a league, they want to win and get the points and so on. But sometimes, if you're a mid-table team, then you've got to accept that staying in the Premier League, particularly mid-table, is about the limit of your ambition. And I
mm,
think there's so much pressure on teams from the lower 14. I mean, it's the top six, and then it's the others, basically, almost a separate league. And if fans or owners think above themselves, they could end up getting their fingers burned and get relegated. It's just a strange league, the Premier League now, which we'll come on to, I suspect, in a minute.
mm, mm. Now you mentioned the Palace manager, Oliver Glasner. Now, I did see a rumor online that you know, it already departed Crystal Palace, but I don't think that's true. Is that true? Is it still at Crystal
No,
Palace? Is it
no, he's
gone?
he's still there, and I think.